technical difficulties. I hope I sound.
No problem. Welcome.
That was perfect, actually. Good evening, everybody. Thank you all for joining us here in the audience, and special thank you to all the guests that we have on this evening. We have a couple more showing up in a few moments, but I wanted to go ahead and kick off the show and get it started. My name is Chris, aka MetaCaptain. I am the founder of Metabusdcoin, and I like to host these fun little UniteDeFi Roundtables. I'm going to go ahead and kind of send it around the room and give everybody a chance to introduce themselves, introduce their project or anything that they're associated with. Start with Crypto Control.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Crypto Control. I don't have a project that I'm associated with. I just do YouTube, and the main projects that I cover and I'm known for is SafeMoon and EverGrow. And I'm actually fairly new to the DeFi space. Only been here for like a year. So
very cool. Atlas.
I'm so tempted to do the Brady Bunch theme song right now, but I'm not. I won't do it. So my name is Crypto Atlas. I'm a YouTuber. I'm also an NFT artist, and I'm really excited because in just a couple more days, we're going to officially launch a new line on a new marketplace, and it's a partnership with several different cryptocurrency projects. I'm really excited to see what we can do to help elevate NFTs to the next phase, moving it even further beyond than what we're seeing starting to emerge in the space.
Very nice. EJ.
What up, everyone? EJ, team lead for EverReflect and also EverTix, which one is a BUSD reflection token. The other is an NFT event ticketing site. So good to be back and see everybody. Super pumped to have the guests tonight. Papa, Jeff, Todd, the rest of you guys, I get to see a lot, but great. Really appreciate you guys being on the show tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sending Mark messages to make sure he's showing up in just a second. Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin Reamer, developer and CEO of BUSD Buffet, deflationary BUSD reward token. Our whole thing is we use a portion of our buy and sell tax to buy other tokens via various contracts we have set up as our utilities. Every week we sell a portion of those to buy back our own tokens and either burn them or send them to the staking pool to increase the APR on that.
Very, very cool. Todd.
Hey guys, I'm Todd Hart. I host the CEO Corner on Eyes on Crypto YouTube channel. I also co-host the Roundtable on Friday nights. We do that live with DeFi Connection, Honey Badger. I also host the Pit, co-host the Pit, which is projects going against each other on Wednesday nights. AMA sessions. God, I do a lot of shit. And I also now host with Haley Mack, Seat at the Table, which we're trying to bring underrepresented groups, women, people of color, into the crypto space and show them that there are people here that look like you and that are doing this, and we're just trying to increase the amount of people that are coming into crypto. So yeah, I stay busy.
Very cool. Jeff.
Yeah, so given the great audience tonight, I'm not affiliated with any projects. I don't work with absolutely anybody. I can't represent or speak on behalf of any projects, but I'm just excited to be part of DeFi and have great friends and to be able to have opportunities to build things in the space. And really excited to be here tonight.
Was that a prepared statement?
I know, right? I felt like
that was
awesome statement.
No, not at all. No, mostly just screwing around. Yeah, so I'm Jeff. I'm with Fiverr, also Shillex. We work with clients like Reflex and Enhance, Affinity, JetSet, Glow. We also have tons of different projects represented within our Shillex platform. Also have a project called Infinite Chains, which is essentially an instant blockchain for projects to be able to launch their own blockchain in a matter of minutes. I'm also invested in, quite a few different projects.
We're going to get into like a blockchain conversation in just a moment, because right before you actually showed up, Todd asked an interesting blockchain conversation. I was like, let's wait for Papa, Jeff, some other players to get here. Thomas, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Do I sound okay? I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Thomas. People know me from Safe Moon and Doge Run to the Moon. A number of other projects. I advise around the space. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I'm not going to I'm sure everybody knows who. Hi.
Hi. Well, happy
Hey,
to
Chris, can I
happy to
just
have
say,
you. Yeah.
Chris, I just want to say I'm being hypnotized by that thing along the bottom. I'm just staring at that on my screen, and I'm just
I can't remember how to
getting
turn it
lulled
off.
into like.
There we go. There we go. It's turned off. It's turned off.
I've got a tiny bit of a lazy eye already, and so it's like I'm just terrified that like I'm gonna go like full lazy eye by looking at that thing crossing the screen all night.
That's hilarious. Yeah, actually, on that note, and this is just my own personal curious question. Do you still advise for RocketFi? Thomas?
Rocket what?
For Rocket BUSD.
Oh, yeah, they rebranded to Rocket Genesis. Definitely.
Rocket Genesis. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, I called them Rocket
I've
Fi.
recently taken more of like a hands-on approach. We're doing some pretty interesting stuff over there.
Very cool. I've been seeing them doing some different things, and I was just curious on that note. Okay, well, I know Ace from Enhance was still going to be stopping by, and
yes.
Mark
So sorry to interrupt. I have a message from Ace. He says that he's sorry, but he won't be able to attend tonight because he's busy driving to my house.
Well, tell Ace he's actually not forgiven, and I'm going to hold this in my heart forever. No, but and I have not actually heard back from Mark, but at 6 o'clock he said that he was still going to be here. Hopefully he does stop by. I'd love to hear from him. But I did want to just quickly say, this is an open space. Anybody's free to ask anybody a question at any time that they feel open to asking a question. I would like to start with Todd's question that he asked right before the show started, because it is a good one. He asked, or sorry, Todd, go ahead and ask yourself, but ask us the question.
I'm laughing because I see Billy in the audience, and I know he probably wants to come in here and be a speaker. So, Chris, did you lock him out? Did you not let him join the panel tonight? That's not my question, by the way, guys. That's just me noticing him in the comment section. Anyway, sorry, Billy.
If Billy's joining, my statement in the beginning was in fact scripted, and I stand behind my script.
Oh, did Billy ask that? Is that him asking that?
No, Billy likes to give me a hard time. And
oh no, Billy. Yeah, no, I
love his opinion.
Yeah, he can be fun. All right, so my question is this: Brian Legend, Seifu, they're now launching a blockchain, and they've got what they're calling their sacrifice event, where you sacrifice your tokens, and then you hold on for several months and pray to God that he's going to release a blockchain someday on December 28th. So I want your opinion. Now, my opinion on him, I should probably tell you that, is I could wake up tomorrow and someone could say, he took all the money, he disappeared, and I'd be like, yeah, that seems about right. So I'm not going into this with like, I don't know, pie in the sky optimism. I know who the guy is. I know his past, but I think he also likes the limelight. And I don't think he wants to lose that. I think he wants to continue having that. And he's going to do what he can to be successful. So I figure I'd talk to you guys because you're the experts at a lot of this stuff. And I'd love to hear your opinion on it.
Okay. So what I was, kind of talking about before we got started with all this was that I can attest that like a blockchain itself. So like, to be fair to this project, this Seifu, I'm not extremely well versed in like their workings or what they've got offering, but I'm just going to make some like quick assumptions for the case of conversation here. And a blockchain within itself isn't all that difficult to fork and to establish. But whenever you talk about scalability and adoption is where things get like, really interesting. So I can't comment too much further other than that, but long and short of it is if he says we're going to launch a blockchain and he's got money to do it, he can absolutely do it.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, the fact is, like, we stand up blockchains all the time for testing purposes, right? Like, you know, the scalability is the key factor, and like setting up nodes across the country, you're going to need a few $100,000 to be able to have anything meaningful in terms of like something that can truly scale. And like a few $100,000 is a lot of money for a lot of people, but in the reality of like running a business and that what a blockchain could do for a project if they have the right mass adoption, it's pretty minimal amount of investment. So pretty easy for absolutely anybody to stand up a blockchain. And the reality is, with a few $100,000 and some technical knowledge, like I could imagine standing up a blockchain, even if you're using cloud infrastructure in a matter of a couple of weeks, with the right amount of capital to be able to support it. So the more important thing is, like, can somebody stand up something that's actually interesting and innovative and that's going to do something, or is it just a cash grab? And I have no problem with either one of those things personally. It's just a matter of how you're going to position yourself. As long as you're not lying about it, I don't have a problem with it.
Well, I know he's raising money. People can buy a node for $49,000.
Sounds right. That's pretty retail.
And he's selling whatever 15 million divided by 49,000 is. That's how many he's selling. I want to say 300, but I don't know if that's right. But yeah, I mean, and people are lining up ready to buy these nodes. So he seems to have the money and the people.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, I mean, it's only interesting if projects want to. I'm sorry, go ahead, EJ.
I want to just pop in and say the key. All good. Sorry, I'm on my phone, so it's like I never do it this way. I'm not as versed as Meta Captain on the mobile. But what Chris's comment about adoption, I talk about it all the time with whether it's ticketing, whether it's a blockchain, whether it's, you know, anything really in crypto. Adoption's key, and it's hard. Like, it's so difficult to be able to get groups that want to join in, that want to basically take part with, even if it's the greatest blockchain ever. I mean, think about all the products over the time of history that have been better and then have fallen, not based on the fact that they're you know, superior to their competition. It's a matter of just people didn't adopt it. And that's going to probably, I would say, I bet they raised the money, or they already have the capital. I guarantee that they get people that want to buy those nodes, but are they going to get, you know, enough people that'll support it, like Binance or like Ethereum?
I mean, like anything else, it's got to serve a purpose, though. Like,
it's hard to.
That's the key thing. What is he trying to do with this? Like, what's the purpose of it in the first place? Has he mentioned that at all?
He may have, and I obviously I don't, you know, watch all his stuff 24/7, so he may have said it. Yeah, I know.
The fact is there's like a space race happening, right, for a blockchain on like it's and respectfully, there's like a shitcoin blockchain space race, and it's like, you know, the first one to do it. It's and I have a lot of conversations with a lot of people, and like the fact is like there is a subset of these people that's like, I just want to launch a blockchain as like an FU to SafeMoon. And so like that's just a fact.
Are there other projects saying they want to do that, Jeff?
Lots of, I mean, you can talk to projects I work with and projects I don't work with, projects that are part of UniteDeFi, or
I mean, there's a lot of I was going to say
everybody. You know, you go to
there's a lot of projects where it's on their roadmap. Like, you know, like that's, hey, we have a blockchain at the end of this roadmap or towards the end of it. A lot of them. So obviously, like, there is at least somewhat of a desire, whether or not that's like a true utilitarian desire or whether or not that's like a community appeasement, would be like a fair question. Because I think there's a lot of people that feel like, you know, like the gorilla in the room is SafeMoon, and like what have they not delivered on that they promised? What could we deliver on that they promised? You know, is what's like multiple people would think about. So that's, you know, just to be fair, I think that's where some projects are coming from whenever they add those items to their roadmap and they think about those development. And there's also plenty of other projects that are actually innovating with a blockchain of sorts. To be fair to those that are doing things a little bit different. We can't say that there aren't any, because there definitely are some that are.
See, when people say they're going to be coming out with their own blockchain, to me, I mean, it's almost akin to the NFT marketplace or a proxy contract or Cellus. Like, all these things, they can be done, and they can be released fairly quickly. But again, if it serves a purpose for your project, if it adds value to what you're doing, and as a result to people holding your token, if it adds value to them, go for it and do it. Just for me, it's like I see all these things being released and they don't really seem to serve a purpose other than to exist. That's where I just start, like, it becomes novelty more than useful function.
So it's more of a marketing thing then. Like it's a me too.
Now, let me give you another example of where it's beneficial on no other level than being just like a closed ecosystem. Again, we'll go with SafeMoon as a fantastic example. Somebody who has a large community, they do a large amount of daily volume trading. Think about how much more secure and SafeMoon becomes as a value set once they do have that blockchain, and like they can actually get people on that chain so they control that native coin value, and it's no longer subject to Binance's, and they're able to then push the power behind their coin and drive adoption and maybe become a powerhouse player at some point.
Did we lose Papa, by the way?
Apparently so. I am
because he's the guy to talk to, right? Wasn't he working on the blockchain for them?
I don't know. I think as far as I'm aware, he actually had completed an iteration or a fork of the blockchain. I don't want to speak for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do know that that might be something he doesn't want to talk about. I don't think he left though. I think he just got disconnected.
Okay.
I think he said he stood up a testnet blockchain, like a fork testnet blockchain that they had done some modifications to, but I think that was pretty much the extent of it. Yeah. Not to take away from that. I mean, the fact is like there's a lot of planning. There's a lot of planning that goes into it, and I don't know what he did specifically, but what I do know about the space in general is that like a lot of projects will talk about things that aren't quite ready or aren't quite there, or that are in the idea stage, or whatever. And there's a lot of people just kind of figuring shit out as they go.
Well, and in some cases, and I know I've talked about this numerous times, I think there's some situations. By the way, hello, Billy. Where
how the fuck did he get in here?
Where
the hell let him in here?
Oh, Billy!
I told you if he showed up, I was leaving.
Oh my god! Papa's back.
There's some situations where I think the community forces certain things. So like in the situation of like, a SafeMoon situation where like the community drives the conversation and the narrative, and whenever it becomes like overwhelmingly large, like a SafeMoon did, think about how quickly that's going to like force a narrative on doing something big and grand that like may or may not have necessarily been the immediate case, and like having to you know what I mean? Does that make? I'm sure that makes sense to everybody. Like just like on a very basic level. I hope it does, because like everybody should always remember that like all these party participants and everything that we've ever talked about are humans. So they're subject to some level of like shittery. It happens. Like stuff happens, and because like I don't know how else to say it, because like realistically, they put up a blockchain, like for if they put up one now, it would have to be the very, very best one. Does that make sense? Like because of everything else that's happened. So like you're pushed to like further and further extremes of like unreal expectations. I don't even know how else to express it.
Well, with the passing of time as well, you'd expect it to be the friggin' Taj Mahal after all the time they've had. That goes for a lot of projects that have promised things that we're still waiting on. So you're like, this better be really good.
If someone could fill me in, I was gone for a couple minutes.
Okay.
Who's trying to make a blockchain?
Well, so Seifu is who we were originally talking about.
Okay, I almost had a heart attack.
No, we were talking about Seifu originally. It did shift a little bit over into talking about SafeMoon, but and that's where I chimed in with like the fact that I thought that that's the company that was dealing with like overbearing expectations that were half implemented by community. But originally the conversation was simple. It was, hey, do you think Seifu is going to be successful in launching their blockchain? And then the group's consensus was like, oh, well, they could absolutely launch one. Whether or not it'll be adopted, who knows?
And to clarify, I wasn't the one that brought up SafeMoon. It wasn't me.
Papa, what's your opinion on that? Because you worked on a blockchain during your SafeMoon years. Right?
I've, contrary to popular belief, I've not only created a tool that launches blockchains because it's easier for me to do it that way, and then I've gone and done it for the mortgage industry. Right now, there's a running private blockchain for the mortgage industry whereby the technology is used to verify data and things. It's pretty cool, but doing it is actually not too terribly difficult if you're not trying to reinvent the wheel. It's like a lot of people are looking for people to reinvent the wheel, but it's kind of like, you're either starting from scratch or trying to beat Ethereum. If you look at the first year of Ethereum, they had a gajillion dollars and some of the world's best devs that Vitalik just went out and there was a ton of money going around. So it's a hard sell. If they're trying to make their own custom block, I'd like to know who's making it, who's hands-on.
The biggest concern that I would have of somebody launching a brand new blockchain, right? So you're trying to reinvent the wheel, is what kind of new vulnerabilities come with that? If you're trying to just make a blockchain that other blockchains are already using that model, and there's a degree of security that's proven itself over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, then you have that little bit of a sense of reassurance that you launching your project's going to be okay, right? But if you say we're going to use a whole new consensus model, and that doesn't totally work right off the bat, I mean, your project it's more or less dead in the water. There goes your credibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. I would say, at least on the basis, if it was just like a good even fork, then they would have at least the base encryption, and like they wouldn't have to worry about like any further from like just like that base level of security. But I do see like the overall point, your perspective there. All right, I want to kind of move on from this blockchain, at least this form of this blockchain topic, because I think we're all fully like in the know on everything that we need to know there. All right. Interesting though. Hey Billy, say what you want to say, Billy.
Hey, sorry. Hey Papa. Hey Crypto. Hey Jeff.
Hey.
Nice to see your face. Every time I talk to Jeff, he's hiding. No. Anyway, I slipped in before, so hey. Sorry if Papa and Nat's just come back and they're like, who's this guy? So I just want to say, hey, I'm Billy.
You're dressed like a thief that kind of snuck in here. Your little black stocking cap on.
Dude, it's freezing and I haven't cut my hair in 2 months. So I'm like, yeah. And then I got caught up last minute. So I was like, what do I do? But anyway, we're here now.
You look like one of the guys that would be on those, like, you wouldn't steal TVs. You wouldn't steal your girlfriend. So you wouldn't steal blockchains.
So, Billy would steal your girlfriend.
Papa actually mentioned something that he's working on that I've talked about numerous times in the past. Not his project, but just the fact that like currently we talk about adoption in crypto and how that looks in the real world, and like already today, all of these major manufacturers and corporations that you can think of, they have their own blockchain technology. It's just in-house. Like they don't, like they're not riding out on Bitcoin or like riding out on like Ethereum or anything like that. They're just developing their own in-house chains and operating in that sense. It sounds like, Papa, you have a little bit of like firsthand experience with like that gap. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
On
just the fact that are you seeing that adoption within like the enterprise level as far as
I'm seeing more large organizations take blockchains as like a data store seriously. I think there's a bigger shift in the technology, like that actually using a thing instead of because something's to be said about a private network. Network, a private chain that is run by an organization whereby the data is just stored immutably, right? But to within a standard. Most people just stuff the stuff in databases. Those can be altered a little bit easier than a chain could in that context. But that's not valuable from a decentralized or kind of DeFi perspective. But I am seeing adoption of chains, like in logistics and warehousing. There are autonomous vehicles that happen in these larger warehouses or seaports where their maintenance is tracked on a blockchain. Just a lot better than the database also.
Well, and the thing is, like, I'm a firm believer that what we do here in this degen swamp space of forward innovation and crazy testing at rapid speeds is what lays the foundation for that further adoption on that enterprise level. I think that you see breakthrough ideas born out of this nasty swamp that we all operate in all the time. And you see these guys leave this space and start to operate in crazy other spaces on a regular basis. So I'm just happy to see adoption on any level, anywhere. And it makes me optimistic about what everybody's doing.
Papa, is that the group in Puerto Rico that you're working with that you did a talk of several months ago with?
It was a couple weeks ago. But no, you mean like the meetup and someone?
Yeah, I remember you went down there and they did a live stream that you were part of, and
yes. Okay, so at first it was just this kind of interesting history here. One of the hackathon participants for SafeMoon's hackathon last April reached out to me and said, "Hey, you got to meet this guy. Pavan, he's awesome. You guys get along." It's pretty much started out me kind of just meeting him online and that sort of thing. And then he invited me to come down to Puerto Rico to see his new product launch. And then, the rest is kind of history. The dude's an engineer. It was an easy choice for me to go from SafeMoon to something like Sunwest, because a lot of people ask me, what are you going to do next? I'm going to attack traditional financial tools and completely overhaul them. And I've already done that right now. Like the stepping stones have already been deployed for Morgan, which is automating a lot of what hands-on people do. It's kind of in the industry, and then introducing blockchain to that, payments, looking at some secondary market stuff, and very interesting what you can do with mortgage-backed securities. And yeah, it's kind of like where I'm starting, I guess.
And didn't it bring a lot of automation to the process of like mortgage lending and the title and all that kind of stuff? Wasn't that also part of it?
Yeah. Also sorry, that was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just think about that for a second. I don't have a huge background I do have a huge background in real estate, but not so much on the lending and mortgage finance side.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
Just kind of supporting those like archaic systems and like older monolith, breaking those down into microservices, scaling them. That's the stuff I'm good at. So it's kind of fit in over there. We're a lot of crazy people. At Celligence is kind of like the tech arm of Sunwest, and we're all very eccentric, hyper nerds, I think.
Yeah, and I think the key thing there is that you're just a part of like that that forward innovation with the database storage on chain. So then that allows all the other participants within that, group of ecosystem to access that and pull from that. And so to answer Todd's question, it probably does make all of that automation like fairly easy and quick. Whether or not he would see that actually, maybe, may or may not, is what I would guess.
Yeah, I remember seeing the presentation. I remember watching it and just listening to what they were saying, what it was going to do, and it was fascinating.
So Jeff just disappeared, and I was going to ask my next question to him.
Oh, I'm here.
Okay, he's here.
I get ADD, and so I just start looking around, and I'm like start fiddling with things, and so I'm like I might as well not do that on camera. So as soon as I get fidgety, I just turn off my camera.
So your question is fairly easy. It kind of goes to both of us.
I
but I'm
paid you to like slow pitch me like some easy questions here. So I'm not very smart, so it helps.
Well, this question kind of goes to both of us, but I'm just going to let you answer and hope that your answer is good. But so, all right, you work with a lot of projects, right? And your goal with working with these projects obviously is to facilitate their development needs and whatever other services you may provide. On occasion, you end up having to represent, you know, projects that operate in very close fields, you know, that do a lot of the same exact services and stuff like that. Do you ever find it difficult to navigate?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, today I had a conversation with a project that had an idea that was similar to another project's idea. And I kind of steered the first project towards one direction that I knew I had a good solution for that I could build because I had done a lot of time researching it. And they were a little bit slower on adopting that because they had some other priorities. And then somebody else came to me with their same idea that was similar to the original idea, but not mine. And so I kind of was like, well, hey, I had this other idea. I might have a conflict. Let me check with the other project. I see Thomas. We finally made it on camera. Welcome.
He's working some black magic stuff over there now.
Getting there.
Or maybe he's not on camera. Maybe it's just a cool graphic.
Take spirit away.
Yes.
You know, I don't know how. Every single time that beard just gets better and better.
I expect like bongo music to start playing and like, you know, I don't know.
Is this when we pass the joint around?
There you go. Light it up, Chris.
Why
is it Chris?
Like I have conflicts all the time, and you know the fact of the matter is that you know the first person to ask gets the right to it. The way that I sell things, I don't always sell things like with exclusivity, and I sell on basically a perpetual license basis for the most part, unless somebody asks for exclusivity. And so like understanding that, like I naturally am in a position where I can sell and resell something as many times as I want, unless I either decide to give somebody exclusivity or if they pay a hefty premium for it. And so like that's how I'm able to capture a bunch of the market, is because I'm able to sell significantly under market rate, because I know that I'm going to be able to reuse that code and then modify it and adjust it for specific use cases. So like I hope that kind of generally answers your question. And I certainly, you know, I'm loyal to my clients, and you know, we'll always try to give for somebody the, you know, first right of refusal or the opportunity to have that exclusivity if I feel like it's going to be something that's going to be a bidding war. So, you know, try to find that balance, try to be respectful. And at the same time, like, I also believe that there's a bunch of stuff in the space that's going to be commoditized, and like thinking that having a swap or a basic blockchain or a, you know, a basic anything is special. It's naive, and you shouldn't be paying tons of money to have something custom built if it's just the same shit that everybody else has. And if you want to do something special, like, let's talk about it. And if you want that to be exclusive, then pay for it. Right.
Is that an option, Jeff, to say like they want the exclusive right to it and you can't do anything else with it beyond that relationship?
So usually what I would do is limit it to the scope of the specific ask. So like everything that would be standard about it, I would retain. And then just like that 10% or that 5% is unique, right? And so like in that case, they could have exclusivity. But I charge 2.5 times the rate for something that's exclusive. Or I'll just give it to somebody as an exclusive if I feel like they're the best for it. Or if I think it will deepen the relationship. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good enough answer. Like, you know, it's that's just a value add, one way or the other. You know, it's somehow them having exclusive access to this one thing is what's going to be beneficial for them, and therefore you. It's a value trade situation. That makes sense to me. Yeah.
And until recently, just to be clear, like, because I know a lot of people think like I am a whale in a ton of projects, and therefore like I'm giving stuff away because I'm a whale. And the fact is like I don't hold almost all of the clients I named tonight. I don't hold tokens in. I only recently started buying tokens in projects. This is not a joke. Last week I bought some Bitburn, I bought some Blockbuster token, and I actually bought some SafeMoon because I was like, it's at as low as it possibly could go. And this is coming from somebody who's been on like both sides of that SafeMoon fence, and who has spent a lot of time flooding SafeMoon. And I still think SafeMoon has a lot of flaws. But I bought it because I was just like, screw it. Like I can buy back the thing I had spent like $10,000 on before for, $1,600. I'm like, might as well buy it, and like I'll walk away from $1,600 anytime. Like I don't give a shit. It's just $1,600. So that's the fact there. But I do hold a lot in blue chip cryptos, and
so Metabusdcoin, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. Like I think 30 or 40% of my net worth, all $15 of it, is in Metabusd.
So,
Kevin, can you get a special Jeff pit going and invest in the stuff that he's investing in? Because
100%.
You might have some inside information going on that he's working on.
That'll be the next utility in the kitchen.
I think that would be cool. That would be fun.
Yeah, so that's actually why I didn't hold any of the tokens, is specifically for that reason. And like the only reason I'm having tokens now is like literally as part of like people that can't afford to buy, like spend all of the money that it would cost to build everything that they want on their initial roadmap. It's like, well, then let me get a couple of whitelist spots, and let me get a little bit of the transaction fee that you're going to charge on some of your utilities, and like that could make it worthwhile for me. So and like just so anybody would be clear, like that's the way devs operate in the space in general. But a lot of them will go and say like, give me.
Okay, you cut out there, but he's actually talking about something that I want to talk about. So I'm just going to take it away from him. So,
Chris, did you mute him?
No, I did not. I did not. He just cut out. He has terrible internet. For some reason, he doesn't buy nice internet. He uses like his cell phone for a hotspot.
His neighbor,
he steals his Wi-Fi. So it's something. This is actually a really interesting topic that I thought like we could skirt really, really easily, like kind of just play it real nice on it. Because this has came up many times. Developers within the space that are working for projects and on projects, and how they get paid. Because like he was saying, it's very, very common that like the way that some projects will choose to pay you, and it's at the developer's discretion on how they want to work this and how they want to do it. But it's very common that they'll say, hey, I'm going to give you a percentage of this supply. It's going to go to this wallet, and you'll get access to it at this time. Those terms are always somewhat different, but it's very common that like that's the deal that's offered. On occasion, there'll be some type of like, bonus on top of that. Like, hey, maybe I'll pay you 1,000 BUSD right now, but I'm also going to give you like this buttload of tokens, and it's at your discretion to do with the tokens that you want. But like factually, that's how it happens a lot. So it's strange to find a situation where like projects are successful and they do well, and then like that developer takes money out of the project and sells his tokens. But like those were his terms. He could have easily just as had a $0 bag. It happened to be a nice huge bag. Good for him. But it could have just as easily been a $0 bag, if that makes sense. And like those were the terms that were laid out. Like whether or not that system needs to change, we can talk about that. Like, and whether or not like we want to see changes there, that can be a conversation had. But it's very common within the space like that's the way it goes down. And like I myself, to be very clear here, I myself have been paid in like percentages of supplies of people's tokens whenever I develop their contracts and I sell their tokens. That's what I've done. Yeah, I've also not sold tokens.
But Chris, isn't that the way it's done though? When they don't have money, when they're first launching, they really don't have a lot of money to throw around.
Correct.
And what they do have is the hope of potential future value in these tokens that they can give away. And I think they also, give those away to not only devs, but people that interview them and people that do advertising for them and any kind of marketing efforts. We all get that kind of stuff as well. And you hope it's going to go up in value. And you got to remember to sell it at one time, which I'm really bad at doing. I've only probably sold like 2 projects that I've ever owned, and the rest I just sit there and hold and watch them go down in value. And I'm like, I probably should have sold that at the top.
I love Billy so much. Come on, we gotta let Billy chime in. Billy, what you got, man?
No, I always put my hand up. I can't be rude. It's also instilled in me, mate. Anyone who's been in the army knows this. Is my thing still working? Have I glitched out too? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can all hear you, Billy.
Okay, that's right.
You're talking.
I can't understand you, Billy.
No, it's because like
What
everything
are you saying?
everything went dead silent because he's all muted yourself. Anyway.
We're waiting for like your ultra words of wisdom. You're just you're sitting there
There's
quietly.
there's no words of wisdom tonight. You didn't prepare me. No. I think the difference is too, though, is that projects have to be clear about what they're giving out. So it's all well and good to say, hey, we've got a dev on board and he's helping us build XYZ, and then we're going to give him 10% of supply or 5% or whatever, or we're going to pay promoters this much in supply. But then for projects not to say that, and then suddenly, there goes 10% of supply gets dumped, and they're like, that was just a whale, and then they play that, excuse my French, bullshit game. That's what needs to stop, And I think a lot of us realize that's how it is, but a lot of holders and normie investors don't. And that's,
There are also conversations that are had too, right? That people say, hey, can you not sell this for a certain amount of time? And we don't want you dumping this at launch and screwing the project. So there are conversations had with different projects.
The other thing you can do too is like you can set up a locker where the tokens will go, but if it's like a reward token, you can still have that person get their rewards. They just can't get the actual tokens for a certain amount of time. Whether it's I think like team lockers and ours is like a year, but it's the same sort of thing. You can harvest those BSD rewards. You just can't touch the actual tokens. So I've seen that situation arise as well, and that seems to be better for the project itself. It might not be best for the dev, but depends on the dev.
So my token and NFT locker and vesting platform is going to be launching soon. I don't know if I'm actually launching it. I'm going to have a project launch it, but it's coming soon. So I'm just going to plug it because you said it. But I actually wanted to say that like I actually haven't sold any of the tokens that I've gotten from any of the projects. And that's a fact. And also because like that's partially because like one, I'm not going to dump on a project early, and I just started getting into tokens again, like literally I think it was last week or whenever I got the Bitburn tokens. And I'm certainly like, well, one, I'm not even holding those tokens, or friends holding them. And two, like haven't sold any of them. But like I don't want to be the reason a project tanks. And like also, I'm super flexible with terms with projects because like like I am here to make money, no doubt. But like there's a lot of other ways I'm going to make money, and I'm here for the long game. So like I'd rather be like, hey, it's make up a number. It's $6,000 for your project to launch. Your contract. Give me $3,000 up front. Give me $3,000 7 days after launch. And then all of a sudden it's just before their launch, they're still in pre-sale. Things are pumping, looking pretty good on that side. I'm like, hey, you know what? Since I gave you a solid on those terms, will you convert that other $3,000 into equivalent tokens on your whitelist? Like, sure. But then I have them, and I'm like, I would feel guilty if I sold them. And so I literally just am holding on to them. But I also have a play. So it's not like I'm like sitting here like twiddling my thumbs. Like I'm also like would build them a private sales queue, which could allow me to sell them down peer-to-peer in the future and not hurt their charts. Right. And so like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it responsible. And at the end of the day, like the $3,000 that I put into Bitmark, Bitburn, that's now worth like, whatever it is, $12,000. Like $12,000 doesn't make or break my year. And so like, I don't give a shit. I'm not going to sell them. I don't care. And I'm certainly not going to dump them and have everybody have the project that I have a potential to build utilities for, have the holders that are in it all. Like there's only 220 of them right now. I'm not going to like, why on earth would I sell them now? It makes no sense. Now, will I sell them at some point, and will I sell them responsibly? Like, I hope so. Like, of course, like if all of a sudden my luck turns and I'm losing my house right? And I have to sell it, and I need that $12,000 to pay my bills. Like, of course, I would sell it. I'm human. I'm fortunate to not be in that position. I'm fortunate to be able to put some faith in projects. But you know, there are lots of people that aren't in that kind of position, and there's a lot of people desperate for devs and those devs are desperate for money. And so it's just like, got to be responsible.
It's
also
that's the side of it too. If you start dumping on projects, you know full well that's going to come out and be public information at some point, and then no one's going to offer you that. So if they don't have the capital up front to pay you to do the development work, they're not going to offer you tokens because you're the guy who dumps.
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
Fair. I will say this much, just to add on to Jeff's point. Sell, you know, like if you're doing development work for people and like that's how they're paying you, sell at some point, you know, hold on to a bag for sure if you want to have a moon bag, you know, but like that's your value, like that's what you do for like a living or whatever, like that's like the value that you brought to the table. That's how they decided to trade it out with you. So like that's like, in my opinion, just make sure you try to like, you know, if there's any terms on the deal, like if they're like, hey, make sure you sell only at like, you know, 0.5% of impact or 1% impact per day or something like that, you know, fit those terms and do it as respectfully as possible. But at the same time,
Right.
I'm a full supporter of like, yeah, if you gotta sell, man.
Exactly.
And I wanted to jump in and say the same thing that you kind of hit on there, Chris, about like sell, but sell with respect. And it doesn't matter if you're a part of the dev team or if you're just a holder or an investor into a project. Like, I don't think that there's a project that anybody, it doesn't matter if you like the project or you dislike the project. It's always kind of painful, like being the leader of a project and seeing any chart, see one straight red line. Like it kind of gives all of us this like, oh my God, what just happened moment. Cause it's like, did the team sell? Was it a whale? Like, I think it's all of our responsibilities to sell respectfully and don't damage the chart. Take it over the course of a couple days, or like even like you had said about like a percentage. Like, get it in your head. Like, there's been so many times with projects where they ask me to come in day of and help them finalize on pink sale because they just don't know how to get the liquidity added. Well, I wasn't a part of the team. I wasn't expecting any tokens. They don't have any BNB. All of a sudden, I own tokens for this project, and I'll let them know straight up, hey, you know, I'm going to potentially sell about 25% of this, get some profit in BNB back out, but trust me, I'll do it with respect. Make sure I take it over the course of a period, as opposed to dumping it all at once or dumping your full bag all at once. And I think it's a good lesson for devs, but I think it's also a good lesson for any holder that's out there.
Dump it, baby. No, sorry, joking. I want to hear from Crypto Control or Crypto Atlas. We haven't heard from you guys yet this evening. You know, the floor is yours. Let's go with Atlas first. He's used to this. Control is only the first time. He's a rook. But Atlas, floor is yours. Ask anybody anything you want, man.
I'm actually going to keep it as an open-ended question, but Bitcoin's now back above $20,000. There's been a lot of headache that's gone on in the crypto space in the last month, but now we're in the second half of the year. What is your guys' kind of sentiment with the projects that you guys have been working on? Are you getting close to the point where you feel comfortable in launching some new features? Do you think we're going to start to see a strong rally of releases from other projects? Are you guys pretty bullish in the near future, or are you still pretty concerned?
Me personally, I've got different utilities coming out just as they're ready. Like, I don't care what's happening with the market. If it's ready to go, then I just go with it. I don't know if it's unique to the way mine works, but I can add a new contract to the kitchen, for example, and it just rolls into the volume and just sort of does its thing. So I don't necessarily need the market to be a certain way to start releasing, and I don't necessarily stop working on new things ever. I don't think anybody here does, to be honest with you. If you've got something that you know you're going to be releasing, you work on it and you release it when it's ready. I'm sure there's some utilities that are probably market dependent that you may try to time, but you could go in endless circles trying to time the market to make sure it's right. So for me, it's just if it's ready, release it. And when it's ready to be used to the extent you envisioned, then that's when it'll happen.
I'm in a unique situation where we're building a VR standalone application. It's just taken a long time, man. I wish I could have it out already. I wish it was already out in public, but it's not. So it'll be out as soon as it is out. That's all I can say. I'm not the market, like these guys say. The market doesn't affect me as much. I wish, of course, as everybody does, that it was bullish all the time, but I was expecting a very bearish market and it not to go away anytime soon. I mean, like, a lot of the writing was on the wall, so it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. So if that's the case, then you knew it was coming and you're here. Now that we're here, it's just kind of like working through it. It kind of makes it easier in some senses because, like, there's a lot more people with less things to do and more time on their hands, and they're charging you less for things you need. So I'm able to, like, lean on people and give them, like, beans that I've been holding on to as the great collector of beans and get stuff done. So
it's called exploitation.
I don't know, man. What's give me somebody else's take. Papa, what's your take?
Well, I'm really glad that I didn't launch ASIC yet. I mean, we've been working on it in the background for a while, but starting a big project that's largely predicated on like the mining difficulty and the value of the mined Bitcoins is like, it went completely out of whack. Like, I would have been doomed if I had like started before. So I'm actually kind of really glad that I didn't. Also, if Bitcoin continues to fall down, then I'd love to buy all of it at 5K. All of it. I'm sure everyone else will too. So it's kind of.
So I had a plan for that. I'd be curious to know how stupid you guys think this is. But I was like, man, if it gets anywhere near 10,000, I could throw in 10K. And if it goes back up to all-time high, you'd have, 70K or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have a buyer in at 7,500. So, like, if it hits 7,500, like, I'm putting a significant portion of my net worth, like a very meaningful portion, on all Bitcoin. So
just don't mortgage the house, guys. Don't mortgage the house.
Like, in all reality, if it hit below 10, I would probably actually ask Jeff for like a loan of like 100K or something, so I could go ahead and go buy 10 Bitcoin or something like that. Because yeah, I mean, but I'm kind of like on the level of it's gonna kind of balance out around like 12 to 15. That's where like my beliefs are personally. Just, I don't know what other people's thoughts are. I'm also not like at all a financial guy, just to be very, very clear. I'm just like not a financial guy. I don't know how to read markets or anything like that. I'm going by literal like intuition, like, if that makes sense.
Does everybody here like have the expectation that it is going to bounce back, or is there anybody here that feels like no, it's not going to get near all-time high again?
Billy, you
I
don't
think it's
going to
go back.
No, well, someone who went through the 2019 bear market, I feel like it's on track for a similar thing, not as low, but I won't be surprised if we get to like 10, maybe even 8K Bitcoin, and then we see another all-time high in like 2024, 2025. And I'll put my tinfoil hat on because there's a lot of global events that coincide with all this. So think about the recession that we're facing now. But there's a lot of political movements going on.
What was the quotation?
Recession. It's a recession. So I'm putting my tinfoil hat on, okay? But there's correlations to everything. And if you look through market histories of times, right? There's, market recessions, downturn, bear markets, and there's different political things and stuff, and Illuminati, but it all happens. And then same when we get a bull pump, other things happen and other crazy things happen in the world. So if you put some of those tinfoil hat correlations in play as well, like, for example, when COVID started, I bought into a bunch of biopharma stocks because I was like, hey, COVID, virus, money, like, I mean, that was just, and you can say it's tinfoil hat play, but that's how it kind of played out, right? So
That's
some
not really
of this stuff-
tinfoil hat, though. That's a smart move. I mean, when they were giving oil, when they were paying people to take oil away, that's when I started buying oil stocks. Because I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? They're paying people to take barrels of oil away. It's only going to turn around, So I don't think that's tinfoil at all. I think that was a smart move to do that.
Well, as an Aquarius and as a big believer of crystals and moon signs, there's the next blood moon is actually on October 8th, and so it's gonna be a bloody day, that's where I think Bitcoin's gonna hit $7,500, and then the holiday season's gonna come into full effect, and we're all gonna get rich, and that is absolutely financial advice. If you're also an Aquarius that believes in blood moons and also likes to wear special crystals to make yourself feel like you have the right energy to be able to make those buys. But if not, for everybody else, don't listen to me.
Well, October 8th, that's my birthday. So the next blood moon is my birthday. I'm feeling pretty good about that then.
Can you show me?
That's crazy.
Can you show me one crystal right now? Do you have one wearable crystal?
Listen, Jeff, I've got
it's a Prince Albert. So, is that appropriate for your stream right now? Because
Jeff, I've got a gong right next to me. If you want a little gong bath action before we end the night,
I have a bong right next to me too.
Oh, a gong, not a bong.
A
gong.
Gong and bong. Oh my god.
Sorry. I didn't quite catch that.
It's like, I've got a bong. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
I got a dog.
Is that why you're never on camera? Is you're like secretly hitting it every time between conversations?
No, I got a vape pen. So I was just vape while we're talking. So right now I'm just hitting one of those. Well, I lost it. It's somewhere around. There it is. I got a little THC pen that I just hit whenever we're talking. And then, whenever I get off stream, that's when I go to the bong and stuff like that. I got a nice little email. Got a perfect little setup. Papa's just zoned out. He's like, God damn it, the feds are watching.
He's got a full face mask back on with the
Oh my god.
It's legal in most places. No, anyways. Next question. So Atlas, you asked one. Crypto Control, you're up next. What's your question?
Yeah, I kind of asked one. I'm not really, paying attention to all these new projects that you're going. I know about USD Buffet because, I've been talking to them and whatnot, but it's a lot of interesting things. I'd be interested in what Papa is working in. But yeah, that was my question, was just I figured I'd ask them about the Bitcoin thing. But now that Jeff said that, I'm kind of interested if you guys would be interested in a utility revolving around horoscopes.
I mean, this space has room for innovation in all different types of sectors. is what I would say.
Here's what I'll tell you. My brother bought one of these day trading courses, and it's kind of like a pattern trading course, and teaches you a lot about certain patterns and all these other things, which are kind of whatever. That's not how I would trade. I think there are some pattern trading to be done, but they were literally talking about full moons and the impact of all this stuff like that. And the fact is you can find correlations and patterns in anything, and if it as long as it works for you, who gives a shit, right? Because the fact is that most traders don't beat the market anyways. And so when you recognize that, most people are just guessing, and if they actually have a solution to beat the market, they're not going to tell you. So in terms of star signs or full moons or the tide or which color of the year it is, or what Pokemon you drew in second grade as your first card when you opened your first pack, none of that's going to really matter. At the end of the day, it's really just a matter of did you do enough research, or did you get
Machamp? It was Machamp. But just factually.
Mine was a Jigglypuff, and it was the first time I really questioned who I was as a human.
That question has given me an idea for just a full-on degen token. We'll talk later, Chris.
So, all right.
Real quickly, Sorry, I just wanted to say this. I appreciate you guys having me on. I only had an hour to do this, but it's great listening to you guys. A lot of very smart people, and I appreciate you having me on. And I'll catch you guys later.
Thanks, man. Later.
Well, hey, I was going to say before you leave, don't forget, all of us have to work together to evolve the horoscope.
Yeah, I'm down. If any of you guys, I'm sure we got a couple of YouTubers, reach out and definitely learn about your projects and cover them and bring more awareness to good projects that aren't just a waste of time, which is what kind of most of these projects appear to be, is just people launching a project to launch a project, no real utility, and then the pump and dump comes and it's gone, and it's just like, man. But,
what's your least favorite project right now? Go.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say. No, I'm not getting into that. I'm not doing that one. But I will say, did you guys? I'll tell you some of the stupid ones I bought. I bought the Let's Go Brandon token. Did you guys get that one?
Yeah, they sponsored NASCAR. How are you not going to buy that?
Dude, it actually did kind of well for a little while, but yeah. But yeah,
I'm still hoping for my grumpy cat will come back to life and make me a millionaire.
All right, guys. You guys have a good one. I'll catch y'all later.
You too, man.
Since we're just telling random trade stories, the last major gain that I had that was just out of left field was a play that I actually picked up on from that weird server that Atlas has, the server with Generation Crypto in them. That Raider token came in. And they were like, "Hey, can somebody give us an AMA?" And I raised my hand. I was like, "I'll give you guys an AMA." And they were like, "Sure, let this guy give him an AMA." So I did, and they had already launched 2 weeks before, and I did that AMA. I bought their token at 26x, 2-3 days later. It was called Raider token. I try to follow them, but I don't know what they're doing.
Are they still around?
Yeah, they're still around. They still exist.
That was the weirdest situation.
I sold. I'm not gonna lie to anybody. So it did 26x, and then I sold, and I said, "Woohoo!" But that's. But yeah, that's interesting.
So they were weird. They were super weird because they came to me. They wanted to get listed on ShillX. I'm like, of course, happy to take a look, and the contract was renounced, and so I was like, okay, you got a renounced contract. I like that. It's kind of it's not something you see as much lately, right? Everybody's kind of shifting to proxies and doing a lot more centralization, even within this decentralized space, which is neither here nor there. But I was like, oh, a renounced contract, I like that. And of course, because they had renounced it, they couldn't actually do the tax exemption. And so I was like, hey, just so you know, I don't care. I still think what you're doing is cool. I like the idea that you're trying to revive a dead project, and you have my support, and I gladly will advocate for you. And then they started just attacking everybody, and I don't give a shit if they attack SafeMoon. Attack them all you want, attack whoever you want, but they started calling out the UniteDeFi groups, and they started just calling out people as if they were the enemy, and how there was some kind of conspiracy against them. And it's no, dude, you guys are just assholes. I'm an asshole quite a bit of the time, but I'm also not gonna go and just make up something that's entirely fictionalized just for the sake of being an asshole, just to try to get attention, right? If I'm being an asshole, it's almost always for a reason, even if my reason's wrong.
Can I add to that? It's coming. It's coming. So here's the deal, and this is the other thing a lot of people realize, is that even people like myself, I talked to Jeff, doing work behind the scenes with him as well. I mean, Chris is, Kevin's, we're all involved in stuff. I'm sure Papa and Jeff and we all cross paths. It's actually funny lately too, because there's certain groups, we don't know exactly who they are, but a lot of us sitting here do. And it's funny that they try and play these games because, surprise, surprise, we all talk to each other. And with, people like myself, we call each other's names, face to face, right? Over voice calls and stuff.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts on all these sort of, I'm just going to come and say, all this fuckery that's been going on lately behind the scenes and on Twitter?
Is that for me?
So everyone.
There's so much fuckery. Like, which fuckery are you referring to
I
specifically?
mean, like,
Just in general with the games, the bullshit.
yeah,
Especially when people don't realize that we're talking. See, Pub is probably more used
I'm
to this because
very,
you've been in the space for a long time. Yeah.
very familiar with people hating me. People being,
Well, there's that, but the general fuckery.
yeah, it's bullshit. And all you have to do is focus on building. You know, if you spend a second thinking about what someone else's opinion of you, what you doing, you know, you're gonna live the rest of your life in hell. So, I mean, if you're confident in your skills and your direction and your craft and what you're doing, then the haters be damned. Like, we're here to build things. I'm just gonna keep doing that. I mean, me personally, but the fuckery ends with me just not doing anything. These guys, they feed off of responses. They get notoriety and visibility from it, just on a reaction, just on anything. Any kind of engagement back. It's in the worst kind of way. That's like the best way to deal with it. You take the gas away from them, and refuting it only puts a greater light, and they know that. So it's kind of like, how do you shift that? How do you shift gears and use that energy to your benefit instead of your detriment? So all these guys out there wasting their time now, trying to bring you down. But what's happened is you progressed today, and they didn't.
What's kind of funny is, like, especially now, because again, markets are bad, everybody's suffering, and that's fine. Like, we're all going through the same things. It's watching the way some people are just devolving into their baser instincts and letting that run their Twitters and their alt accounts that they're creating. I just grab popcorn and watch it all. Like, it's funny to me, I guess.
There's also an ego involved too, though, because Papa, you're right. That's like my philosophy. If someone attacks me, I'm like, I don't give a fuck what you're saying. But I think some people can't do that, and they're like, I gotta reply, and then it just goes like this, and they got to get that last word in. And as Kevin said, sometimes it's fun to watch, and sometimes you're sitting there going, just abort. Why are you, like, you're not going to win, and you both end up looking stupid by the time it's over. So it's not worth it. Just walk away.
I'm probably like the worst example of definitely just, I shouldn't get on Twitter Spaces ever again. Just like, no offense to anybody, I should just never do it again. And like, I learned like firsthand, trying to respond to it to put out the fire it's not the same when you're doing it for yourself than when you're doing it for your project. Like something like SafeMoon, there were whole groups of people that were devoted to going out there and answering questions, and that kind of organization was stellar. I really like that part of the community. That sort of broke down. But it's kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to chime in and agree 100%. Don't engage. I mean, unfortunately, the market's tough, so there's a lot of adversity for everybody. Doesn't matter if you're a holder, if you're a dev, but when you engage, it shows your character and your true colors. And from my perspective, it wastes brain cells, it wastes time. Like, this is a good opportunity. Somebody said it earlier that, like, it's a down market. Work your ass off, work harder. Like, Danny and I put in so many hours working on EverTix because the market's down. Like, this is an opportunity. And I love, like, Navy SEALs, that how they talk about adversity and how they thrive on it. Like, that inspires me that this is an adverse time. We can thrive, we can grow. And that's what you should focus on. Focus on the positive, build each other up, screw all the other bullshit, and don't engage, because it's wasting everybody's time, in my personal opinion.
To touch base on something that a couple people hit on is that, like, a strong intent behind doing these shows has always been from the beginning, just to, like, kind of shine a light to the outside community that, like, it really is kind of small, especially in, like, our little BSC sector. So, like, we all know each other, we all work with each other, we all overlap. I'm really disappointed that Mark's not here right now, because, like, I have a long history with Mark and he does with other people here, and I was hoping that he would be on, just to kind of, like, show that, like, even when things seem iffy to the outside perspective on people's interactions, you don't know what's really going on behind the scenes. A lot of us still work together, even if things look weird, to that strange outside community, because you don't know the whole story. But truthfully, yeah, it's a small world. We all know each other. A lot of us work together, and it's not that bad, like it's, if that makes sense.
That totally makes sense. I'm sorry, go ahead, Todd.
I was going to say, just real quick, I had a couple of investors reach out to me, today's Wednesday, last couple of days, saying they dropped projects. They sold their bags because of what Billy called online fuckery on Twitter. And I'm not going to mention who they are, what the things are, because that's not fair to the project to do that. But
well, I know you're talking about Reflex, so if you want to name them, you can.
People do watch what people are saying, and like Chris said, the community is so small. Everybody's talking. It's not like there's some mystery or something. Everybody knows what's going on and what people are doing or not doing. And I just think people need to be careful because it's so fucking small. It's so small. And I said to someone else too, I said, when you talk to someone, you need to pretend you're talking to the entire community, because chances are it's going to get out and everyone's going to know what you said. So just pretend when you're saying, hey, this is between you and I, it's you and 10,000 other people in the space that you're talking to.
That's a really good point. Just to interject, that even when you're starting out in a project, if you don't have more than 10 viewers or even 5, you should expect that if you're going to see success, 1 million people are going to watch this video. So when you're kind of like the early struggle times where you're kind of building up the audience, is have that kind of mindset. 1 million people are going to watch this.
I bet that hits close to home for you, Thomas.
Well, I guess a couple things. Like you mentioned, Mark. Like Mark and I still DM. I know a lot of people think Mark and I have terrible drama and will probably forever. But like the fact is, we still DM. Somebody that doesn't like me at the current moment is not on Twitter anymore. So I checked in to make sure that they were okay, because like I was friends with that person for a long time before we had drama. So like there are people behind this, and it's still important. And like for me personally, like I don't give a shit what people think about me, which is why I'll call out bullshit anytime I want to call out bullshit, because I really honestly don't care. But when somebody says something about a friend or somebody I care about, or somebody I have a good relationship, and that goes for almost everybody in this room that I actually have some kind of a relationship with, like I'm very protective of my friends. And like, in this case, you don't have to say that you're specifically talking about Reflex, but like Reflex as an example, there was some Twitter drama recently that Ray was going on doing fake accounts. All we know for certain is that there was a link that he had, a private link that was shared out, and some people used his link that said some things that people don't like. And so whether that was him explicitly or not explicitly, people don't know. And like, I think that that's just the problem in DeFi in general, is that like we look for a pattern, and therefore, and we look at the evidence, but the evidence is never good enough to say, as a matter of fact, somebody did something, right? You can only say like the evidence points to looking like somebody did something, or they have information about who might have. And like, that's just something totally fair to say. And when that was brought to light, like I wasn't going to go out there and say they did or didn't do it, because the fact is like, I don't know, right? All I have is the same information that everybody else has. And so, I guess, I just think that, in general, like my entire like mode of operating is that like, and it pisses a lot of people off, is that like, if somebody says something, like be specific. Like when I say like, oh, I don't like a CEO dumping their bag, yeah, like I'm probably talking about John from SafeMoon. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, and if he's not happy about me, that doesn't mean that I wouldn't work for him if he wanted to hire me to do some project for him, right? But I wouldn't be happy as a buyer of SafeMoon early if he had just been dumping his whole bag the whole time. But I don't know that as a fact, and I certainly don't know if I'd have a problem with it if he did, in terms of the legality, right? Like, it's not for me to decide. And I just think that in this space in general, we spend too much time trying to kiss up to people, or to pander to people, or to pretend like somebody is owed something because they did something. It's like, people fudded Thomas because they thought he didn't deliver something, and yet he stepped out of SafeMoon and delivered time after time after time for projects. So it's like, at some point, people shut the fuck up, right? Like you can't judge somebody based on something that you don't actually know what happened.
To
And if you didn't, Thomas, if you had gone out and didn't deliver shit, then it's like people, like call you out, say you're an asshole, say you didn't deliver, but you prove that you can deliver, you prove that you're competent, right? And so
just to hit on your reflex point, like the way that I publicly stated it from my perspective is where we got with reflex from like the community's outlook, where like the people were thinking about it. I think like a lot of people can agree that they hit some hard faults along their way of their development plan, and they might not have had like the best technical team whenever they first started. They have done a lot to fix that though, and now they might very well have a very good technical team behind them doing good work and have things fixed moving forward. The problem is for a lot of people is how they handled it, like from point A to point B, and like the perception that they gained during that time period. And I don't want to like sit here and talk about them or weigh in on that. Like that's just like where that's the heartbeat, so to speak, just like to give perspective on that situation. Like that's what is like actually going on there. That being said, I would say that like everybody, from my like personal talks that I've had with that team, I do think that like they have a very strong intention of building a successful, strong company.
And to segue into something that's along those lines of public perception, I would like for the term FUD to just be eliminated from everyone's vocabulary forever. Because like I said, a lot of it is everybody has questions. Sometimes you get the same question 100 times. Just answer it. And I'm not speaking to any individual project. I've seen it across multiple. Answer questions just honestly. If it's something that you made a mistake and it's going to look bad, just own it and tell people how you're going to fix it. If you get the same question for 100th time, just answer it. Don't say I've already answered this. It's somewhere else. Go look it up. That's not okay. FUD has become a crutch. Like the term FUD has become a crutch, and it's being used way too much. That's my soapbox moment.
One of those annoying things is when somebody asks a question and then the response from the other person is Google it. It's like, oh, I've never heard of this Google thing. What is that? Do I need to go to like the mall to get that, or where do I get Google? You know what I mean? Like we all know what Google is. We all know we can Google things, but it's just kind of an unfortunate thing, I think, when the other party says that, they're not realizing that the person that's asking the question is looking at them with a degree of respect and saying, hey, I feel like you're knowledgeable on this, and I feel like you can help me understand this better than if I try to go look this up for myself. And then there's that disconnect, that sort of push away. And for some people, interactions like that, now they're no longer interested in trying to learn out more. And that could hurt projects, that could hurt people getting involved in crypto. I mean, it could hurt a whole slew of things. That's that indifference, right? It's kind of an ancient crypto community like issue. Satoshi, I think it was back on Bitcoin Talk, where Satoshi was talking to somebody and he said something like, if you won't take the time to read the Bitcoin white paper, I don't have the time to explain it to you, because it's just 9 pages. Honestly, like the Bitcoin white paper, I think anyone should read. And I found that like a staggering amount of people in the crypto community in general had read that document. But it's that indifference that people are unwilling to take the extra steps to educate others, or I mean, like even just kind of like projects in DeFi. A lot of us have really big pop-off times with brand new people to crypto, and they have all kinds of new person questions. And if you're not designed like mobile ready and new person first, then it's only going to work for a couple months, and your community's going to be mad at you because it's only red candles. But that'll happen. You can't blame everything on the market. But
hey, Papa, what's the new project that you mentioned before that you're working on? The one you said you're not. Thank God you didn't launch it, or you said something like that.
ASIC. I started working on a private foundation, and the idea is to raise a bunch of money, either traditional investment, doing a registered security or a bunch of other means, but we have an action plan for building a scalable farm. Looking to start between $50 and $100 million. Take about a year and a half to build. But I'm just really glad that I didn't do that, because it's ASIC mining on Bitcoin. The profit would have just not have, if the market doesn't recover before the build time is over, or if you raise a bunch, it's not a good time to start something like that, because it's a lot of mining and then a lot of liquidity deposits. So that was the purpose of the private foundation, was to select kind of like, not like a Shark Tank or VC or whatever, but just on a more visceral level, angel liquidity provider, which I think would be pretty, that's kind of what that is. So I figured the market is terrible and things aren't really working out for Bitcoin. I will continue to work on the idea until the market comes back.
Thanks.
Kevin, and I know you didn't name a project, so I'm not going to name a project because it's actually applicable to so many different people, even though you may have been thinking about one. But the fact is that we all know, anybody that's run a project knows that there's a lot of shit that happens behind the scenes and a lot of things that go wrong, and there's employee turnover and there's things that happen and there's malicious actors in tons of projects that have to get booted out, and there's lots of things that can happen to any project in the space. And the fact is that the fact is the general community and even other devs don't always have the full visibility and don't necessarily have visibility in terms of the intentions or why things are omitted. And this is me honestly speaking across every project that I've had a relationship with, right? And everybody has issues that come about, and how they face them and how they change. And just as an example, Reflex is the first to admit that they had problems with past devs, right? And they now have us, and we have our own problems. We miss deadlines and we have issues, and we're not prone to we're not perfect, and we're going to make mistakes as well, and in terms of making sure that everybody in the team understands how every component of the systems that we're building works, even if parts of the code aren't fully published on the blockchain, right? There's a trust there, right? That we've earned, and the reason that we have the trust and the respect of the people that we have respect and trust from is because we're the first to make sure that we're properly training and educating people. We're willing to give them more than we ask, which I've always talked about. We're willing to make sure that the commodities out there are priced like commodities and not like something that's special. And also just, respect and integrity and loyalty are super important to me. And, we talked quite a bit earlier about how do I deal with conflict on utilities? And the fact is that Reflex, for example, if somebody wants to do something that Reflex does, or if I want to do something or offer them something, I'm always going to go to Miles first, and then I'll go to Ryan second. And I'm going to respect their order of their organization. I'm also if I find out that one project's doing something, I'm not going to keep it a secret. I'm going to go to somebody else that I trust and tell them hey, this person's thinking about doing something. I wanted you to know, they asked me first, but I know you were thinking about it, is they get priority because they asked me. I'm going to give you a heads up because I'm not a backstabber. I'm not going to go do something like that. I'm not going to build two things in parallel for two different people and have them both launch the same thing, because I'm here to build long-lasting relationships with people, because that's in my best interest also, right? Because I want to be able to have prolonged utilities and prolonged things to build, which is why it's also easy for me not to dump tokens, because I'm going to go and get $4,000 to $25,000 a month from somebody to go build something unique, right? Depending on what they're looking for. And I'd much rather have that revenue coming in on a consistent basis than go and take $4,000 and turn it into 16 in 24 hours, one time, and then have everybody hate me, right? So yeah, with that being said, I got my cowboy hat on. I'm ready to roll.
Jeff, I don't think you have to worry about the shortage of people hating you.
The shortage of people hating me?
Yeah, there seems to be, for some reason, just a weird Twitter FUD for you. I don't know why Twitter hates you so much, but it does.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, fuck them.
I love it, man. And for instance, I don't think I'm alone here in saying that everybody that I know feels at least some degree more comfortable working with a project. Let's just say, for instance, Reflex, knowing that they have like Jeff and his team developing their utilities for them, knowing that they're safe, well-developed utilities, because you're also not seeing those missteps that might have been publicly so noticeable in the past.
And yet we still have missteps, right? Like we'll still release an app that doesn't calculate something exactly right because, or like we'll still like go
loser
airdrop something and have to pull something back, right? Like things like everybody's going to make a mistake. These are like, you do as much testing, but like testnet's always going to fuck you every single time. And then you go and launch on mainnet and like you're trying to get your shit out there. And then all of a sudden, like one little edge case on one device, like screws you over too. And so you try, like we do unit testing, like we have full coverage on everything we do, and yet something's going to go wrong, right? And so like, you know, we had I think it was $1,000 exploit on one of our contracts that could have been exploited that Mark caught, right? Like respect to him for catching it. We had our own issues with how that was handled, but whatever, like he still caught an exploit, like, and then that was something that we tested extensively, and we even did fuzz testing on it, but it wasn't until a very specific scenario, a very unique series of events happened that something could have been exploited. And so it's like the point is that like, you know, like the moment that an exploit that is serious happens on any of my contracts, everybody's gonna fucking hate me. And at some point, like if Harmony can't protect their bridge, and Harmony is one of the most innovative blockchains in the world, doing some of the coolest stuff in my opinion in terms of the DeFi space, like if they can't protect their own bridge, like I'm not going to sit here and pretend like just because you like me or you like some of the other projects that like everything I'm going to do is going to be perfect or my team's going to do is perfect. Like at some point we're going to have a mistake. At some point it might cost somebody $1,000, and I hope that's the case. Like we'll figure out how to cover it. You know, if we got exploited for, if some one of our contracts had a flaw that we didn't know about because all of a sudden some quantum computer can hack something and guess something, like, and somebody loses $100 million, like I'm filing for bankruptcy on the business and I'm walking away. Like there's nothing else I can do. All I can do is make sure that I'm taking every single precaution, every single safeguard that I possibly can to protect these things. And so like anybody that says they're doing otherwise, probably a liar.
So can I jump in here? Hey, it's Billy. I'm on my phone because my computer blue screened, so I can't raise my hand. But I'm making a cup of tea, so I'll jump back in the computer in a minute.
Hi, Billy.
Thanks for the long story.
That's all right, mate. That's explained to the new people, you know, that are watching. Our viewers have gone up. Haven't you noticed? I hope there's not too much echo. What you're saying, Jeff's right. But the thing is, too, is that as project leads and things, and if you're the developer telling them, like, pretty much reading them a document on how everything works, and then you go to them and they go, duh, I don't know, like that, man, that's where it becomes BS, because as a project lead, you should know everything that your devs are doing. Otherwise, like, how can you be trusted to run a project? Because, and you're not wrong, like you said, you're running a dev company, and then if you go bust, you go bust. But as project owners, like, you're handling people's money. You know what I mean? If you go bust, like, you bring everyone else down. It doesn't matter if you're already down.
Just for some perspective, I don't know how every project handles it, but let's just talk about, let's go with a great project partner of mine, Glow Token. Glow Token works very closely with Fiber. I am a project liaison directly for Glow Token and Fiber. So they trust me as a team member for Glow, officially listed as a team member, to be that liaison person for that development. I understand it and I translate it for them. That's a really great setup. I don't know if every team has that. I know Papa, for instance, plays that role for many teams where he's a consultant and an advisor, and he actually translate what the kind of like street level devs are doing for the team, and he just kind of like organizes that, communicates that, make sure it's getting done, and translates it. So like, and there are situations where like there's an easy fix for it, and like I can't speak for all teams and whether or not they've got that, but I would suggest that you are right that there needs to be something like that going on. But I don't necessarily agree that like the team itself, if it's a business, like there's some out there, like for instance, EJ is a great example of somebody who like took it upon himself to make that bridge, to get that further understanding of what's going on and like with the actual contract and the blockchain. But he didn't need to. He like has a full business like set up on his own with tickets. He knows what he's doing there. So if he wanted to, he could have just hired a dev, had that dev on the team, and then had that dev communicate with other devs. And I would be fine with that, but they should have somebody on the actual team that is that liaison person that can do that.
Right. And in all honesty, it's not nearly as much fun if you don't have a real good working concept. Like a perfect example is, I talk about Danny Noodles all the time. What he's done with Feisty. I mean, these are the two men that have developed all of the NFTs that are going to morph our QR codes for live events. Like beyond my scope. Like not even anything. Like I'm getting a working understanding, but to be able to say that I can be, like Kevin and go in and write the code, it's outside of my perspective, and it's not necessarily outside of my skill set. It's just outside of like the time that we all have. Like I love being able to merge real world utility with the crypto space, and that is a big part of like the merger of talents with passion is what makes any business successful. It's even harder to do in this space. But as soon as you find people that are like, I'm passionate for this, I'm good at this. All right, make that network, make that connection. I mean, all of you guys do it on a daily, but it's going back to adversity during a down market. Like this is the time to do that, because as long as we're forging those passions with those people that are dedicated and bring them together as much as possible, man, this space could blow up. BSC could be one of those, the next level thing once we get out of this market.
Yeah, and I completely agree. Like you can have great teams that have great visions to build real utilities in the world that have no knowledge necessarily of how exactly their contract works, and yet they hire people that are dedicated. Like, people think that I'm a developer. I'm not a developer. Like I spent a lot of time learning as much as I could to be able to understand what's possible and what's not possible. And I have developers to be able to do it. The reason people trust me is because I have trusted resources on my team that I trust explicitly, like with my life, that are going to go and review these things. And I built that trust over a long time, right? Like even my developers on my team, I don't always trust them all, right? Which is why I have code reviews from the people that I do trust before anything goes out, right? And so like, that's just this space in general. Like you don't want to give the keys to anybody. I don't let anybody publish any contracts unless it goes through review. Internally. And like, there's still chances of being flawed. Like, Billy, to your point, like, you've taken it upon yourself to learn a bunch about development and solidity. But from our conversations, it sounds like you didn't necessarily have that knowledge when you first started. And it sounds like, and you even have admitted to me that like, there were things in your contract that you didn't necessarily know about that you learned about after the launch that were, not bad and actually ended up being kind of a positive, but could have been bad, could have been potentially bad. And yet like, you didn't know everything about your contract when it launched, and you've learned. And so I think like giving people the opportunity to be able to learn and be able to bring in those liaisons, I think is important. And that's not me slighting you. Like you're one of the most, at this point, one of the most articulate and versed, project owners in the space that's not a developer. And he's not here, but like he is, and he's done a great job. He's done a great job learning it. And so, people need to have the opportunity to learn. And like what I will say, since Reflex's name came up, like these guys, I will say on a personal level, like regardless of technical aptitude or anything else, like these guys are genuine people that are interested in doing good for their project. I mean, like anybody else, they're here to make money, but they've done a lot of really good things behind the scenes that people don't know about, that have been only to benefit their holders, and have been selfless to themselves as well, and they've had some shitty developers before us, and that's just a fact. And if those developers weren't necessarily delivering what they needed to have, and if they misspoke on things in the past or whatever whatever might have transpired in the past before we had a relationship with them, I can't speak of because I didn't follow that project. all that closely, and I didn't really follow any projects at the time because I was so focused on Shillex. So I don't have that history, but what I do know is that we're working really closely with them. We're building some really amazing utilities with them. I also work with people that don't like them. I work with people that love them, and it is what it is. And as long as people are coming out with facts or stating things as like suspicious and not as a fact, like I don't have a problem with it. Say whatever you want.
Jeff, what's the secret utility? Let us know.
So I can't specify today, but I would say specifically, like I think that there's tons of opportunities with infinite chains for lots of tokens to be able to either have a blockchain or be able to participate in the blockchain. I think that that's really an interesting opportunity. I think that we have some pretty unique utilities that would really complement what they're doing with their launchpad that we've built, and some things that could allow them to do more global e-commerce. And so I would say one of those three categories is probably the secret utility, but I'll let them decide what the right path is. But I know that they're definitely making strategic investments, and we're also making investments in them in terms of giving them access to certain utilities that we've built that we think that they are given our current client pool, are uniquely positioned to be able to launch, just like we're doing the same thing, with Enhance. And, we're bringing, anybody that knows me knows that, or that has a relationship with knows that, I will gladly give you the shirt off my back if your project is down or you need help or you need something. And I want to profit on it some way if I can, but if not, it's not like I'm twisting your arm, have it and we can figure out, I never expect something back, but if I get something back, then great. And it definitely improves my chance of getting something back if I ever need a favor or I need help getting listed on a swap or on an exchange or whatever. It's being loyal, being honest, at the end of the day, those are the most important things to me and the people that I want to do business with. And I'll fight for them to the grave.
Hey, so along with what everybody's been saying, I think, especially if there's community in the crowd here, and if you're not familiar with how development goes, you could have a 2-week blocker be like the root cause of that, just an errant semicolon that nobody was able to find, and the errors don't display properly because it's like a nested mess of bullshit. What I think the community needs to understand is when a developer or a company puts out there, hey, we're shooting a launch in a week's time, the only time that ever actually works 1,000% is if that thing has been properly full bore tested a week beforehand. The thing should already be done and ready to go by the time that something is said is this is our launch date. Hard dates should always just have finished product before them, but that's not always the case. Especially when you deploy something, if there's a hack. Earlier, we were talking about exploits in contracts and things like that. Let me tell you, it doesn't matter what you do, really. It's just time and difficulty. Some clever nerd's going to break it. We're all doomed as soon as quantum computing goes hobby level. So it's to that effect. I think people need to give the developers a little bit more credit, especially when things go wrong, because it could be a one character thing. And that's how you're like, oh, we've been stuck for 2 weeks, and then boom, it's ready, it's done, it's fixed, everything's good. And sometimes that happens a week or two after, and I don't think that devs should get their heads chopped off, or threatened, or whatever. So you're late a week on a wallet, something like that. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous, and I think all of you with your own teams and deal with software, just good on you for sticking it out anyway, because the market's terrible right now. Everybody's having a bad time. Everybody.
Well, it's funny. Oh, go ahead.
I want to reference, because I said it earlier, and I mean it. It's just always worth considering. And let's not use the same example we've used all night. Let's go with EverGrowCoin, for instance. EverGrowCoin's a giant community. So at this point, anything they are going to release, the expectation is so much like if I put out something, for instance, like if I wanted to put out like an NFT marketplace or something like that, or creator platform, if like I was gonna do that, I've got like very little pressure. Like, you know, like my community is gonna like be like ride or die, chill with me. Like, you know, like let's do this, let's just knock this out, let's build some more cool projects and products and just keep trucking. But like their communities are so massive that like that expectation is crazy. So like I couldn't even imagine being in like that position of like stress and development.
But no, like for me, like part of it is I'm not the greatest at communication. So if I'm working on a contract for another utility in the background, I don't say anything about it. Like even with Todd, the barbecue pit that we were working on, my community didn't know about it until I was ready to deploy it. I was like, "Hey, I'm deploying a utility," and they're like, "Oh, neat." I mean, that's part of the reason I'm working with Cryptolic to work on the marketing and all that stuff. But there's no expectation because I'm always like surprising them when I do release something. Like this week, there's going to be another utility that I deploy tomorrow. I made a very brief announcement earlier this week, and then I'm just going to deploy it. And then they'll be like, "Hey, cool, another utility." So, like I said, I'm bad with the communication side, but I don't set any expectation ahead of time, and it's kind of been nice because then you're surprising people, and you know that builds some good sentiment.
And of
I
course,
wish more people were like that.
I harass you and Chris about you need to do more marketing and get out there more about what you're doing.
I've been doing this like a long time, and like I've been scared. Like honest to God, like Thomas is a fantastic example of like a horror story. No offense, Thomas, but like you know, like this is a dude. This was a dude who was just doing dude things that happened to just get swept up into something wild and extreme that like changed his life indefinitely. So like, there's no like we can't even say to like any degree what kind of effect that's had. And like I'm sorry, I don't want that to be me. So like I try to like, you know, little marketing, little hype. I'll grow this thing as I can as my utilities roll out and how I feel comfortable doing it. The other thing is like I couldn't even imagine like I'm too nervous to go on screen right now. I couldn't imagine being like noticed. Like if I was noticed somewhere in public, I don't know what I would do, Joe. Like, and I would cry.
I was in New York a few weeks ago, and I was standing. I was outside on the street corner, just smoking a cigarette, and some dude taps my shoulder and goes, "Hey, Safe Moon, Thomas." I'm like, "Yeah, yes, that's me." And he actually, you know, despite how terrible everything is, it was actually quite nice about it. He said, "Good job," and all this other stuff. You know, at first it was kind of a shock. It's definitely a shock. It happens, and it could probably happen more often.
Just say next time, just be like, "Oh, Shitoshi." It's actually Shitoshi, and then just see what they say.
Yeah, right. It is absolutely terrifying, but kind of nice when it goes well. Which ideally it goes well every time.
Guys, what do you feel about like devs and people on the team not being doxxed and keeping that anonymity for your own protection?
It has its benefits and drawbacks. So I think people want to know who's behind the project that they're buying. People want to have confidence that the experience matches the dream, and they can actually do it. You know, with anonymous projects, you always run the risk of just the devs disappearing, never coming back. That sort of thing. It's a huge risk, and there's no good way to, you know, the only way that I would trust an anon team is if all their code was published and I could verify it myself. I'd have to go and take the time to do all that crazy stuff, and even the audits that come out are fairly biased. Like if you look at a lot of Certic, and this isn't me trashing Certic, but it's all of their contract, their audits are biased towards decentralization, even if that's not what the point is, right? They're gonna be like, "Ah, big red warning," you know, centralized control risk, stuff like that is you know, you can see that everywhere. But
I operated for years anonymously. I operated underneath the name Xian, and like I was a fairly well-known dev under the name Zian, and it has its benefits. Like I don't know what else to say. It definitely has its benefits.
It's for if you're anonymous, it's good for you. If you're doxxed, it's good for your community.
Correct, and like that's why it's
bad for you.
That's why I was like, hey, if I'm going to be doing this project, because it was a group of people that convinced me to like go ahead and like make sure that I'm doing everything on my own and launching like my own project. And when I decided to do it, I was like, all right, this is the moment that like I will assume a new identity. and this new identity was the doxed meta captain, Chris Ginn. Like that's because like that's factually who I am, and like you now get to look up my LinkedIn and see all my career history and stuff like that and all that good stuff. But like before that in the space, I was already fairly well known as like Zian, and I was helping projects behind the scenes for a while. And it's not that like I was ever doing anything bad or anything like that, but there was just like absolutely no reason why anybody needs, like, for instance, I get DMs sometimes with people that know that I live in Kentucky, and they ask if I want to meet up. 100% no, I do not want to meet up. Okay, just to be very clear, I don't know who you are. Like out there, like I'm one of those people who like I very much love this house that I live in. like the room that I'm sitting in right now. Like I'm a homebody. I'm a very like I'm not in it for anything other than just like doing what I want to do. And like I really enjoy engaging with like my community and what I'm building for like my people, and I like enjoying like having these discussions, and I feel comfortable operating online. But like I'm not at all trying to, I don't even know where I'm going with this, but y'all get my point.
You know what that reminds me of was I think it was maybe 2-3 years ago. I remember seeing that you guys have probably heard of Meetup. It's like an app. You can go meet up with people that have common interests. I remember seeing on there it was for Bitcoin. Like, hey, yeah, random stranger, you like Bitcoin, I like Bitcoin too. Let's go meet up in a random place, right?
Actually,
this obviously can't possibly go wrong or anything, right?
For that, all over the place. This huge thing about Bitcoin in particular. That's tons of meetups all across all of the states.
But imagine going to the one wrong meetup, the one that's like, oh yeah, let's do
give
a
me your
one-on-one
phone.
meeting.
Give me your phone.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's go meet up at a Starbucks. Wait, this isn't a Starbucks. This is abandoned parking. Oh my god, I'm getting robbed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just try to avoid the Bitcoin and BDSM parties because like that's just where they're gonna end up with your phone.
Well, like, and obviously, if like one of you guys were like, "Hey, Chris, do you want to hang out or meet up?" I'd be like, "Yeah." I'm talking about I've had like just community members. I've had just people just like randomly like DM me and be like, "Hey, man, like I know you're in the area. You want to stop by and look at my artwork?" I'm like, I want to be an NFT artist. I'm like, nah, dude. Like, nah, 100% no. Like, I don't even know how else to express that.
Meta Captain, I see you're in Kentucky too. What's your home address? We should hang out. Smiley face.
Can we hang out?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't smoke
At
weed
your
anymore,
house.
but I did for a long time. But I would definitely smoke some weed with you, Chris. Like I would just make an exception and just do it. Not even that I have anything against smoking weed anymore. It's just like it gives me a headache. But you would be worth that headache.
Yeah, I already told my wife one of these days we're going to load up the kids in the motorhome and just drive down and show up in front of your house.
Hey, I'm fine with that, Kevin. I'd be absolutely cool with that. Your motorhome is awesome. Your motorhome might be better than my house. I would I'd be like, oh man, he's gonna park his nice motor mansion in front of my house.
It looks nice in pictures because I'm able to take pictures from far away.
Hey, Thomas, you don't need to answer specifically, but did you say that Chase is coming to visit you right now?
Yes.
So are you in the east or the south?
I'm in the east.
Are you in the south?
North.
Okay. All right. So then, because I'm driving out there to literally meet with Chase and Ryan Floodhound on Friday. So like I'm in North Carolina, so you don't need to give me anything more specific.
Oh, okay. Okay, I was gonna ask you if that was Ryan when you were saying reflex.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go meet up. I'm gonna go meet up with Ryan and Chase on Friday, and have some dinner and probably drink too much. So I was going to say, like, if you're not too far from Tennessee, you should join.
I am very far from Tennessee.
Okay.
You're in New Hampshire, aren't you, Papa?
New Hampshire, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're near me. I'm in near Boston.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, Billy! Billy's got his hands.
Oh, Billy wants to come over and smoke weed with us.
He does
now.
this so shyly too, you know. He's always like right here, like it's never just like, yeah, hey, I got a question. It's still like, hi.
It's so cynical every time. I don't know why.
I want to go down to Australia and fight kangaroos with Billy.
Billy,
I would actually like to
I
see Kevin
I
do
want to
that,
see
actually.
that. Yeah, if people have seen Kevin do his deadlifts and stuff, man, that'll be a show. You taking on a Roo? That'll be sick.
That could be a new
But,
wrestling league. People
Yeah.
wrestling kangaroos.
Can we create a coin around that? A crypto coin? We can,
we
right?
could.
I mean, technically, you can
could.
create a token around anything. People have done it.
I had made a joke on Twitter or something like that about like somebody had to sing a song if they messed up, and like I think it was you, Kevin, right? And like I think Kevin was like, I don't play that shit or something, like respectfully. He said something nice to me. Like, it wasn't that. It's not what he said at all. But something nice to me, and I was like, yeah, Kevin's not the. I was like instantly like, yeah, I'll remove that tweet right now. I was just kidding. I'm so sorry. Please don't beat me up.
have you ever seen
I'm
the side?
225 pounds. I can deadlift some weight. I do CrossFit. You know what I mean? But like Kevin is an intimidating human. And so like when he called me out on something, I was like, yeah, no problem. It's gone.
The size of his hands are ungodly. Like they're legitimately 4 times the size of one of my hands. It's crazy.
I have real problems typing.
All right, guys, this has been going on now for a crazy long time. It doesn't feel like it because I think we're all having a very good time. I've enjoyed myself. I hope everybody else has. I'm going to pass it around the room, though, and kind of let everybody give final thoughts or ask a final question if they want. Let's start with Billy, because I feel like he had a further thought just a second ago.
No, I was gonna make some dumb joke about flying over in a emu or something, but no, it's past now. The moment's past. But yes, thank you for inviting me on. Very nice to meet Papa and Crypto Control and a few other people that I haven't met before. Actually, no, I think it's just you two. But yeah, I'm sure we'll have more shenanigans in the after show. But yes, thanks for having me on, and hope I didn't upset too many people. But yeah.
Don't worry.
Billy,
I don't care.
You were very quiet tonight, actually.
I don't think you upset anybody. I think
No, you were very docile tonight.
Yeah, I think you actually spawned up some really great conversation pieces.
Yeah, I can do that sometimes.
And you're a great
he
shit
just-
talker.
he
So
just
like, I thought we were gonna battle a little bit and then like hug it out at the end. And it didn't go there. But you know I like you, so it would have just been fun. It's fun
Oh,
spawn.
Chris just rugged himself again. Oh, he's back.
I do this a lot. I'm sorry, guys. So yeah. No, I mean, I think again, especially because like I have made this statement a few times now around like the whole reflex thing. Just because, like, we can all agree that publicly I might have been like a little mean to Reflex once or twice in the past, and I had been, and that's like because factually I was disappointed with what I had seen specifically come from the development department. But I've also seen now fantastic improvements from it, and from the conversations that I've had with the teams, they do seem extremely serious about having a successful, large-scale project within the BSC space. And whenever you talk to like individuals, especially those types of individuals, like that type of personality trait that they carry, those types of individuals like tend to actually be successful. Like they'll push their way through. They will make significant changes. Whether or not you agree with the personality trait and stuff like that is different. Whether or not you think like they will accomplish their goals, I think is important. And I think that Reflex like realistically will more than likely accomplish the goals that they've set out, and they'll end up being a power player within the space. And especially with like the help that they have now with the development side of things. In my opinion, that was like the only thing that they had lacking before. We can, everybody can agree and disagree about like how you handle PR and stuff like that. Yeah. Anyway, so let's move on to our next closing thought. Kevin.
Yeah, Todd, good to see you on one of the roundtables.
Yeah.
Papa, good to meet you finally. Been seeing you for a while. It's good to actually talk to you. These conversations, I'm glad to be part of this roundtable. It's really cool to get different perspectives and keep up on basically changing concepts and things that are going on in DeFi. I like that everybody is, like I say, everybody's got their beef, but in discussions like this and in private, everybody keeps it civil and keeps their eye on the fact that we're all trying to develop something and put some good out there. Things like this are kind of cool to be part of. Appreciate having me again.
I love having you on, Kevin. Jeff, do you want to give us a closing thought?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to eloquently say that if you don't like me on Twitter, fuck yourself. Everybody else. No, I'm just kidding. No, I just wanted to say that, like, you know, I anybody that knows me knows that, like, it, like, you know, just speak your truth. I don't give a shit who you like or you don't like, and it doesn't change my perspective of any individual. And like, I just want more people to be like just honest and upfront and to air their grievances. And like, you know, I'm gonna do it to a fault, and probably to sabotage myself a little bit because like I'm just not that socially savvy when it comes to that kind of thing. But you know, I'm just excited and grateful to have the opportunity to be on a panel with all of you and to have so many great people in the space that I can learn from and that, you know, can have disagreements and come together and can dislike and like the same people or dislike, you know, or opposite or whatever. Right. And like, you know, it's all okay. This isn't high school, you know, and I know a lot of times it feels like it, but like, you know, you can be a good person and have people that you don't like working together or whatever. And
hey, just
also like Thomas, oh, go ahead.
Just on that note, real quick, can we both be on record saying here real quick that we both know and agree that like Mark could have definitely been on here and we would have had a fantastic conversation, very civil with him.
Yeah, of course. Like Mark, like I said, Mark and I DM, like, I mean, we don't talk like we used to, like multiple times a day, but literally, like I said, a mutual friend of ours is not on Twitter and was going through a rough patch. And so I like that person doesn't like me right now. And I still messaged and was just like, hey, like, I hope he's doing all right. And like, you know, he's still a person. He's still somebody, that individual, somebody I considered a friend for a long time. And like, they can dislike me for what, like, for their reasons. And, you know, that doesn't mean I don't care about that person. And, you know, at the end of the day, I care a lot about the people in the space and the relationships that I build. And, you know, Thomas, I was going to say, like, you and I cross paths frequently, but never like we're always one person removed. Like we're always like one person. Like I feel like I'm always talking to somebody that's working with you, or vice versa. And like, so yeah, I definitely would love to get to know you better. You know, like I said, I've been impressed by all the different projects you've worked on and the stuff that you've been building or advising. So good to be on a space and not just having you kick my ass in video games and nobility. So Todd, you and I hadn't really met, so it was a really good opportunity to get on a space.
Yeah.
I may have caused some drama for you behind the scenes, and so if I did, I'm sorry. But regardless of that, you're good. You seem to be a good guy. I really appreciate what you brought to the table today. Atlas, I'm excited for your NFT launch, and Chris, I always appreciate what you do for the space and the people you bring together and to be able to have civil discourse.
Is this somebody you know? Is this something we're doing? Are you doing something in October in Boston?
No, I think this might be, we were talking about smoking weed, and Fred was trying to bring us to Canada, but Massachusetts, it's legal. I have 4 stores within a 5-minute drive of my house that sell weed and everything under the sun. So Papa, when you're ready, come down to Massachusetts. I'll take you out for a nice plant-based meal, and maybe we'll get Chris to fly up here and we'll have a little smoke sesh before we go.
Oh, Affinity. It's for Affinity. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Oh,
that
okay.
makes 100% sense now. Yeah, I'll be there. If Jeff lets me go, I'll be there. Papa,
If you come,
I saw Chris was posting. What did he say?
He said that he wanted me to be in Boston and more than likely in October, and it's for the Affinity. Like Affinity's having a get together. I can't remember what it's called. Because I have a terrible memory. Who knows why? And that's, yeah. But they're having a get together. Papa, what's your closing thoughts, bud?
I'm glad that there's a lot of people up here that are willing to talk about the stark realities of what it means to run a project.
especially in this industry. It's a lot different than a lot of other places. I really like to see people get over differences. Kind of like we're all here for the same thing, and the market isn't saturated. There are no real competitors. So like they're always just everyone's trying to bring people in from the outside, get people involved in crypto, the education. All of you, what you guys are doing seems pretty fucking special. So I'm glad to meet all you guys that I haven't spoken to before, and definitely hit me up on Twitter to figure some stuff out from Massachusetts and other places. You fucking stay building. Fuck haters, man. Like, I'm gonna hate anyone. It's like, what? 1% of my following hates me. Feels like it's everybody. It's not the case. Yeah. We love everybody, even the people that hate you, and we're building for them too. So, whether they like it or not. So,
even the people that think that they hate you, like at the end of the day, they just haven't like sorted it out yet.
they haven't really met me.
Like they just haven't sorted it out yet. Like they've got feelings towards you about something that is really feelings towards themselves. And like especially if it's like a situation where it's like, man, I hate you because you didn't finish that blockchain. Dude, really?
Oh, yeah, we were talking about test nets biting us on the ass earlier today. I have one of those problems. There's a test net out there that's been biting me on the ass for like the better part of a year.
Yeah, yes, there is.
It's real. But yeah.
Why am I even sharing this, man? Look, he's like, it's a private event just for us to get together. It's the Illuminati event. Yes, I will be at the Illuminati event for sure. Without a doubt.
Look, the Bohemian Grove better give me my fucking apple, my fucking owl. It's like this big owl statue, right?
Yeah, we know. We know, Thomas. we know all about the owls, Thomas.
That's awesome.
Hey, just let them get their fuck on. I don't understand what the deal is.
I'm sure those fucking secret societies. What's up? Big dumb owl goes missing.
Todd, your final thoughts, bud.
I hope I get an invite, Chris Santos, to this event that's in my backyard. I would love to come. I just want to go back to something that Jeff said, which kind of ties into a lot of things that Papa said as well. I think that he said something about he apologized for something whatever. Anyway, but I think when people come together and they meet and talk and see each other face to face, we realize that we're all humans. You know, we all have our faults. We're all trying to do the best we can. We're all trying to do the same thing in the space. We're trying to move the space forward. And I think that's why it's important to do stuff like this and get together, because you realize that he's not a bad guy. You know, you start talking to him, you're like, he seems pretty cool. I'd like to, go have a beer with this guy, go get high with this guy, whatever. So I think that is important. And Chris, thank you for doing this. I think it's really important. The final thing I want to say actually is I want to announce that Chris agreed to be interviewed by me on the CEO Corner. So I'm really fucking excited about that interview.
Yeah, and I'll be on screen for that one. Like, it won't be as bad if it's just like me and you, and like, we're just sitting there chatting. I'll do that on video, and I've done interviews with you on video before.
Yes, you have.
I can do that.
And I do want to say this. Like, my favorite interviewer is Howard Stern. I can't stand all the juvenile shit, but I like his interviewing style because he really goes there. And Chris told me I can go there in this interview. So it's going to be a very good interview, and I'm really excited about it. And I appreciate you, Chris, trusting me to do that. So,
I'm very like candid, and like it sucks because like even sometimes it costs me doing.
That was perfect.
But Todd, it helps that you actually sound a little bit like Howard Stern, so like it's a good parallel.
Look,
Listen, I'll take that. I will take that.
I have a gaming like keyboard and mouse setup. So like I have one little button that it's like an escape back button, and like I keep accidentally hitting it whenever I move my mouse. Anyways, but I'm a very candid person, and it's cost me like job opportunities before with projects because like they're worried about like how I might speak or something like that publicly, and like the fact of the matter is like I'm as transparent and honest as it can be. If you ask me a question, I'm going to give you an answer. And if it's like I try to be like as political as I possibly can be with respect to general holders and investors, if that makes sense, without like doing a further deep dive on that subject. But like in general, if you just ask me a question, I'm going to give you an answer. And it's worked out for the most part for me. But I'm sure we'll end up going into that deeper on your show, Todd.
Oh no, we're going there, buddy. You're going there.
Atlas, your final thoughts.
Thank you again for having me on the panel. I just want to let everyone know that I'm really excited. Our NFT project is looking like it's getting ready to launch here within probably the next couple of days, just waiting on final confirmations on everything. And really excited. It's not just a standard NFT project. We are providing passive income for the NFT holders and creating an ecosystem, hence sort of the play on word for Eco Warriors, the name of the NFT line. We're also dealing with the economy, so dealing with crypto. So that's ties in more for the name itself. And this is partnership with several different crypto projects, including Metabusdcoin, aka with Chris on my left-hand side, and also with Glow Token and with Reflex Finance. We do plan on expanding out further. I just announced today publicly that we have a registered LLC as well. So I'm taking additional measures. When we were talking a little bit earlier, I didn't really chime in during that conversation, but about people being anonymous and things, the fact that I'm an influencer and I do YouTube videos, I think it's a common occurrence that you see people in my kind of a position that like to try and leverage that sort of position. And then next thing you know, projects get rug pulled, tokens or NFT projects, etc. And I'm legitimately trying to show that I can contribute to this space. And I can do it in a way where we can unite DeFi, we can bring ourselves closer together. So we're starting with 3 different partner projects. We have additional utilities because of the various partnerships, a rewards wallet that we're looking to have established as well. If you guys want to find out more information about that, you can go to teamecowarriors.com, and the Twitter handle is Team Eco Warriors as well. So that is right around the corner. That's going to be launched over on the Glow Tokens marketplace. And I can't wait to have people check it out and just actually get a firsthand experience seeing exactly what value it is that I'm talking about that's there. And we're looking at doing a series of things, not just one thing, series of things that you have not seen in this NFT space put together in this kind of a way. So I think it's a very, very strong base format. And then the very last thing I got to say is that one of the keys to happiness is a bad memory.
I like that.
Okay. So yeah, my outro is gonna be pretty simple tonight. I really appreciate everybody that did come on and participate this evening. Shout out to Ace from Enhance. Guy, I mean, come on, like he love the guy, and I can't. And I'm surprised he's not actually here because me and him went back and forth in DMs for a while. He was excited to come on the show. I'm sad that he wasn't here, but shout out to Enhance and everything that they're doing. I love to see the innovations that they're bringing into the space. His energy is top notch. You got to give the guy credit where it's due. He controls the space, controls the room anywhere he goes, and you got to love that. And I wanted to give a shout out to Meta Arcade. They're constantly building and just doing new developments and innovations within their small little ecosystem that benefits all of the project participants that are partnered with them. And this development is just going on nonstop right now in the bear market, pushing these updates out left and right. And again, just really helping all of us out. Good for them. And then Christopher Santos over here from Affinity, he actually made a really good point. So let's give a little bit of a second on outro on that. Like, he is right about that. It's weird because like crypto is a space where you're directly engaged with the community, and like that's one of the benefits of the space. You know, it's like that microcosm of like every man is a part of the show, so to speak. So you spend a lot of time with like that public interaction and public engagement, and sometimes it is hard to focus on like that inter-project development. And that was another one of the reasons why we kind of started doing these things, is to show you how easy it is to get in front of all these executives. A lot of the people that I've had on these shows, for instance, were never working with like these execs on an executive level for some reason, until like I brought them to the show and then showed them like, oh yeah, that's a real person. You can just talk to him, man. Like, you know, like that's just like a normal everyday guy. Like if you just shoot him a message, like, you know, like he'll talk to you. And like I don't know. Thank you everybody for coming on this evening, sharing some time with me, just talking. Thank you for everybody who's listening and watch this evening and watch this sometime in the future. I appreciate everybody's support. We will be continuing these. I'll have another episode here in a few weeks. We will be changing the format up on how we're doing them from how we've done them in the past, but I really like how this evening went, and I hope that moving forward we can have more go just like this. I think it was a perfect example of how this space should be. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Chris.
Hey, thanks everybody.